Welcome to Session Sunday. Hi guys, it's Jack Edwards and today's session is focusing around our receiving skills. But before we get into this week's video, make sure to give us a like and subscribe, and if you missed last week's video, click on the link above. Okay, so moving into the first part of this week's session, we're going to be focusing on our receiving skills, okay, breaking it down into different type of turns, how we receive on the back foot, and then looking to open out and play. But before we get into the session, let's have a look at how many plays we've got for this week and the equipment that we'll be using. So for this week's session, we have 12 players, okay, which can easily be adapted for more or less players. So if you have more players, obviously you're just increasing the size of the groups. You can even increase more groups in the first part of this session. And if you have less players, you can then just break it down to less players. So you can even maybe go down to 3 groups or 2 and just have more players, maybe 1 or 2 extra players waiting around. In terms of the equipment for this week's session, obviously we need balls, bibs, cones. You can use poles as well instead of the cones, okay, so it's harder for the players to manoeuvre around. And then if you have them, small-sided goals. If not, just continue to use the poles. Okay, so moving into the first part of the session, okay, we're going to be focusing again, obviously, on that receiving on the back foot, okay, so opening out our movement to receive the ball, our first touch, all things like that. And then we're going to be working on putting into a second part, which will be opening out to then play to another, open out to play. And then the third part of this first part of the session will be opening out to drive with the ball to then play. Okay, so we're gradually going to progress this part of the session. Okay, so quite basic to start with, and then increasing it. So obviously for the players to get used to before, instead of just diving in, it's maybe the hardest part of the session. So it's all going to be unopposed. In terms of the setup, okay, so the depth will be from the cone here to the other side here. So we're going to have from the middle to the end will be 10 yards. So there'll be 10 yards each side. So there's 20 yards there. And then the middle is just basing it on yourself. Okay, so the age of your players, okay, you could have younger players, which means they don't need as much space. Okay, whereas older players, obviously, you can increase it a little bit more. So I'd say the minimum, okay, amount, the minimum depth in here should be 5 yards, okay, because you want to give them some room to manoeuvre. The maximum should be 10, okay, because you don't want to give them too much space, okay, in the middle. So around 7 or 8 yards is perfect, okay, because obviously we want them receiving in tight areas, okay, so it's increasing the movement, but we also don't want it being too tight where it's hard for them to receive, but also not too much space. Okay, so how it's going to work, each side here will have a ball, okay, so they're going to be working in their own line here to start with. Pretty simple, okay, so the person on the outside will start with the ball. The person in the middle will move out to receive the ball. It will get played in to receive on the back foot, take it across the pole or the cone, okay, with then this player following their pass. Next player coming out here, so they will be receiving, again, on the back foot to take it across, and it will be getting played in, and then they're just following the pass. So it's pretty simple to start with, okay, so this player will have followed their pass up to here. We want them to get in, okay, close to the pole or the cone to start with, to then move out to receive it, on the back foot, take the touch across with this person following up, and then this player will come in this side to receive it, take it across the body, okay, take a touch where this player will have been in to receive again on the outside, take it across the body and play in. So obviously you can do that for a couple of minutes, and then you can obviously switch it about again to go the opposite side. So then they're going to receive on the back foot this side with the left foot, okay, open out, okay, and play. Taking across, so just working off different angles. How we're going to progress it first, okay, so the player's movement will be the same. So we're going to work on playing out to the right-hand side first, okay, and then obviously again you can progress it and you can play out to the left-hand side, so the receiving on different angles, okay, in different ways to play out. So the ball's going to start with this player again. They're going to come out to receive the ball, okay, it's going to get played. The first touch should be away from the body, okay, because then I'm going to manoeuvre out to the right. Then it should be a second touch, okay, driving into space, and then they're going to play over to the right-hand side, okay, which means they'll follow their pass, okay, enjoying that cue. The player who started the play here will have got their movements inside here, okay, so they're going to start in there. So then the ball will come to this cue via this player. So obviously this player here will play up, okay, touch out the body, okay, drive into space with this player following up, and then they're going to play the ball in there. This player will receive, okay, and then they'll take a touch away, which then encourages the movement for this player here. Okay, again, to touch, take it across the body, okay, drive into space, and then play the ball. So each team, okay, you're just following your pass each time. So then we're looking at going from them going to the left-hand side. Okay, so it'll be open out, receive, drive forward again, okay, into space, play that pass and follow it up, okay, join the back of the queue, and obviously this player will have received it. So then they'll be receiving the ball, okay, from this player here into there. And then our final progression for this part of the session, okay, they're going to be working, okay, diagonal, okay, so these two teams here and these two teams will be receiving from each other. So it's going to be open and out, okay, so it can be either side now, okay, so it just depends on where the players want to receive it. So it can be open out here, okay, to take the ball into space, but now what they've got to be wary of is there's 4 players all trying to come through the middle of the box, okay, so they can receive it and then they might have to change direction to come through and then play the ball. Okay, so the player here is going to end up playing the ball to this side where they'll follow their pass. The player here will end up this way. This player here will end up on this line and this player here will end up there. The player who passes the ball in, again, will follow their pass into the middle. Okay, so it's quite simple rotation. So they're going to start here, into the middle, to the other side, and it'll be same on the way back. So obviously we want them to receive the ball, okay, take it into space, okay. So obviously this player here is going to want to come around here. This player here is going to want to come around here, which then means that this player can come around here too to play in. So it just depends on where the touch takes them, okay, to keep the ball nice, tight control, obviously open out to then manoeuvre into space, okay, to then play the ball and follow their pass. So we have 3 animations, each of them will follow, and then we're going to move on to part 2 of this week's session. Now moving into part 2 of this week's session, we're moving into our first small-sided game, focusing on receiving in tight areas to then play forward, okay? So the setup for this part of the drill, okay, we have 40 yards of total depth, we have 10 yards here for our end zone, and then we have 30 yards, okay, for the rest of the play. In terms of our width, we then have 30 yards width as well, and we have 2 small zones here, okay, for 2 players in possession on the Blues, which gives them the overload. Okay, so again, that can be a small box, you know, a 3x3 or a 4x4. It don't make it any more than a 5x5 box, okay, because there's no need for it. Okay, so it's just going to come just off the ends, or it can actually be on the end line. It depends where you want it to be. And then the yellows are going to have 2 small-sided goals. Okay, if you don't have small-sided goals, okay, you can just use poles. And again, if you don't have poles, you can just use cones. That's going to be their aim when they win the ball back. Okay, so the aim for the Blues, okay, they're going to have a 7v5 in possession. Okay, so they've got the area here plus the 2 players in possession to manoeuvre the ball, okay, to try and receive it and play through for somebody to receive in the end zone or to dribble in. Okay, we don't really want a player, okay, dribbling from here all the way through. Okay, but if they receive the ball in this area here, okay, and then they've got the space to manoeuvre into, that'd be perfect. That's what we're looking to do. Okay, so what we're trying to see here from the yellows is to restrict some space, make it difficult for them, and what we want the Blues to do is use these players in possession. Okay, so when these players have got the ball, okay, will the yellows go and close them down? They're not allowed to step into the box, but they can close the passing lanes off. Okay, so you might have a couple of yellows press, which then gives them the opportunity, okay, to play a player in space. Okay, or they could sit back, okay, quite deep. Okay, and let these players have the ball, and then when the ball comes into the middle, okay, that's when they can try and win it back. And if they do win it back, they're trying to score. But we're going to focus on the Blues. In terms of the players out here, they can swap every few minutes, or they could be your centre-backs or your full-backs or even centre midfielders that you want on the ball to recycle play. Okay, so we're looking to play the ball in, manoeuvre it, and we're looking on movements. Okay, so lots of movements. Okay, so in behind, okay, to stretch defenders and take them into space, so then we can create space to receive the ball on the run. And we're looking to be quite clever and intricate with our movements and our passes, so then we could play into somebody, and then we're looking for obviously them third man runs, okay, when a player does receive at the back to goal or open and out, okay, increase our options to play through. So obviously if a player did receive here, we're happy with them driving into space into the end zone. Just that's how they're going to score. So every time they score in the end zone, they get a point. Every time the yellow score in here, they will get a point as well. So we're looking for the blues to manoeuvre that ball quickly. Okay, going to get played into the middle. They might play out wide. Okay, and we get a player coming short, player going long into there, cause a bit of confusion. Okay, and then we could have a player come short, it gets set, and we get a player on the run to take player into space, and then we receive the ball and go through. Okay, so we're trying to encourage the players, okay, to constantly move off the ball. So we're talking about that movement to receive, okay, our receiving skills, our first touch, okay, our awareness of the space around us, to then go and punish the opposition, have confidence to receive it in tight areas, play into space, and then look to go forward. So we're going into that final third to score. We will now move into our next animation before moving on to this week's 4-corner model. Okay, so taking a look at this week's 4-corner model, okay, starting off with technical and tactical, it's a lot focused around our receiving skills, okay, so our movement to receive the ball, okay, so in part 1 of the session when we were talking about using a pole instead of a cone, okay, because if we put a pole in, okay, it means that the players have got to manoeuvre around it more, whereas a cone, it's simple to get round, whereas the pole, okay, they treat it more as a defender, okay, so they create space for themselves, okay, so we're looking to create that movement away from the defender and the opposition to then move into space when we receive the ball. Okay, so we want to try and create those couple of yards. Okay, so when we receive it, we can then assess our options better instead of if the play is too tight to us. Okay, it only really shows us really one way and it narrows our options. Whereas we pull out into space and we receive it. Okay, we can see all the pitch. Okay, we've got a chance to go forward. Can we switch the play? Can we drive into space? Okay, so then coming into our first touch. So then what we're looking at is where do we want our first touch to go? Okay, so we've had our movement to receive. The ball's coming in. Do we want to go across the defender? Do we want to open out? Okay, we want that first touch to come just outside the body. Okay, so it gives us the opportunity to play a pass. Okay, to then drive into space to suck the defender in to think, oh, he's got a chance to win the ball when he hasn't. Okay, we already know if we're going to entice them in, we can take that next touch away into space, or obviously we can play the ball somewhere else. And then finally, scanning our surroundings. Okay, so before the ball even comes in, before we even do that movement, okay, having a look to see, okay, where is the space? Okay, where's the defender going to go? So it might be a double movement of we go backwards to then come forwards, okay, and then we have a little look at our surroundings again before the ball comes in, okay, because then it can be, where's the next pass going to be? So scanning our surroundings to see where our teammates are, where the space is, okay, and where can we try and get at the opposition. Then moving into our psychological corner, starting off with awareness, both spatial and positional, okay? So obviously with our positional awareness, okay, we're thinking of if we're a left-sided player, okay, can we go deep to receive the ball, okay, to then come in? So again, our double movements, okay, can we come short to go long to come short, can we come out to go in, and vice versa as well. So we're trying to be aware of the opposition's positioning as well, okay, so then we focus on that spatial awareness, okay? So when we're looking at if our centre forward comes in, okay, to receive the ball, comes in deep to receive the ball, can we go higher up the pitch, okay? So being aware of what's around us, okay, and what can be in front of us and what's behind us as well. So constantly checking our surroundings, having confidence to receive in tight areas, okay, as well. So if we're a centre midfielder or a centre forward or a winger, having confidence to receive the ball with a player following us, okay, to have a positive first touch and play a pass, okay, because otherwise it becomes too predictable with the opposition. If we're just playing the ball and playing back and going the same way, we've got to take risks. So having confidence to take those risks in possession to then look to play through. Okay, so obviously it drags the opposition out. Okay, and then we've got to execute our technical abilities once we've done that. And then finally, again, our decision making. So, okay, so our first touch, the movement to receive, scanning the surroundings, everything we've spoke about so far doesn't happen, okay, if that final decision isn't good. Okay, so we've got to do all these things so when we receive the ball, we know exactly what we're trying to do. If the passing lane becomes blocked, okay, being decisive quickly to then make the right decision to go, okay, let's release the ball and then we can work it again, okay? So making sure, obviously, being aware of what's around us, having confidence to receive it, and then executing that pass or executing that dribble to drive forward into space. Moving into our physical corner, okay, first off our body shape, okay, so that moves into our receiving skills again, okay, so we want to be able to see where the ball's coming from, So I'm receiving it centrally, okay, from, let's say in part 2, I'm receiving it from one of the players in the end zone, okay, but I'm receiving with my back to goal, okay, I can only play back to them 2 players. Whereas if I receive it, okay, and I'm opened out, okay, so my body's on an angle, okay, like a 90-degree angle, okay, then I've got the chance to open up, okay, and assess my options, okay, where am I going to go, okay, and I've got the chance to take a player one way and then go the other way again to our double movements. We have that chance to come short, to go long, but obviously with our body opened out, okay, it broadens our options once we've received the ball. So it's important to relay that onto the players. Our ABCs, so being able to turn quickly, okay, being very agile, you know, our balance, our coordination, obviously in those tight areas, okay, being able to hold people off, being able to change direction, being able to use our arms, okay, whilst being able to keep control of the ball with our feet. And then finally our speed, so our movement. So obviously when we're looking at those double movements, movements in behind, movements towards the ball, making sure we're doing it quickly. And then finally our social corner, starting off with communication, okay, so giving players information when you're passing the ball, obviously time, obviously man on, telling them to turn, things like that. And then players who want the ball, ask them for the ball, okay, where do you want it? Do you want it in front of them? Okay, do you want it to feet? And then telling the player to release the ball as well. So you're giving yourself, a player who's receiving the ball should be getting information, and the player should be demanding the ball as well. So it's important for players to communicate. Encouragement, okay, so encouragement to receive comes from the coach and from the players, okay, so telling the players to come into space to receive it, okay, encouraging the players to get on the ball, and if they do make a mistake, that's fine, okay, they can rectify it, do it again. So then let's say the first touch wasn't good, or the movement to receive, or they didn't scan the surroundings, or the body shape, okay, encourage them to get on the ball again, okay, to try and get that confidence up, okay, because the more times we do it, the better chance we've got of perfecting it. And then finally, positive reinforcement. So again, going on to that encouragement, this has got to come from, again, the players and the coach, okay, so giving the players lots of positive feedback, especially when they're doing good things, when they're having that confidence to come in and receive the ball, okay, and trying to play forward. Now moving into the final part of this week's session, we're now moving into our second small-sided game, again based on our receiving skills in the tight area, okay, to play forward. So the setup for this part of the session, okay, we're going to have 50 yards of total depth, and then we're going to have 30 yards of width. You can increase that if you want to, okay, but it's best because you don't want it to be, you don't want there to be too much space. So obviously we're trying to make the players receive it with players on them, okay, have them to move to create space, okay, and it not being too easy. So we're going to have a 6v6 in this middle area here, which is going to be 30 yards of depth. And then we're going to have 2 end zones, which are 10 yards. You can increase them again if you want a bit more space, okay, and then our width obviously is just 30 yards. So the lines in here can have poles, okay, which are going to represent each team's offside line. So we're working on timing of our runs in behind as well, okay. So one team is going to attack one side, one team is going to attack the other side, okay. So if they score, they keep the ball. If the ball goes out either side here, we're going to do throw-ins, okay, because we can get good transitions. If they go in and they miss, the other team will get the ball, okay, or if it's a block and it goes out, wherever it is, okay, then the other team will get the ball. So obviously, again, small-sided goals if you have them. If not, just use poles or a cone. So we're trying to encourage the players in here to move that ball quickly, okay, to have the confidence to come and receive in tight areas. Again, that body shape, trying to play in where we can get runners, okay, in behind, okay, to go and attack, okay, the small-sided goals in here. All right, so what we're looking for is the players to be confident, okay, to receive the ball, but also lots of movement off it too. Okay, so then if the Blues get it and they score, can they look to score again? Okay, so they're moving that ball quickly. Okay, they're getting players off the ball moving. All right, so then can they get those players in behind to go and score? So we're looking for that passing behind, but also we're happy for players to receive the ball, drive in, and then look to score. Okay, so the team out of possession are obviously looking to keep their shape, okay, frustrate them and not go in there, okay, until the ball's travelled in there, and then again it's, okay, react, engage, and go and win the ball. So then if they win it back in here, obviously we're looking to receive it. You could have players around the ball. Can we get third man runners, okay, to play it, get into space, okay, that ball in behind, into there. So obviously we're trying to play into space, but the players have got to move the ball quickly, because obviously when we're saying about the width and the depth, if it was an extra 10 yards in here of 40 by 40, it's far too big. Okay, we're giving the players too much room, which they wouldn't have on a Saturday, especially in that middle and final third, okay, because we want we're encouraging that movement, okay? Everything we spoke about in the four corner model, okay, with our technical side, our psychological side, the physical side, the social side, we're increasing that communication, okay, that awareness, okay, that movement to receive. It's got to be a good first touch, and then it's how we react as well. If it is a bad touch, okay, so then again, that positive reinforcement from the coach to encourage the players to keep trying things. So what we're looking at is just moving that ball quickly, okay, getting on the ball in tight areas, and then once we've got that chance to go forward, okay, punishing the opposition in that final third to score. We will now move into our final animation before concluding this week's session. Thanks for watching this week's video. For more content, follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook and TikTok. The links will be in the description below, and we'll see you next week for another Session Sunday.